Okay, let's do some painting. All right, again, we're going to start with the primary colors. So we're going to start with blue here, and I'm going to count 4 spaces down into the center there. And this one I want to be the most saturated version of the color, so I want to use as little water as possible. If you have a little too much water in your palette, you can always dab it with a paper towel to make it more dry, or you can just do more layers as you see I'm doing here, just putting my brush into the pigment over and over and over again until I get just a really good amount of pigment on the brush. I'm trying to keep within the lines as best as I can, because when I go ahead and put the other colors in there, I won't want them to touch. After that, I'm going to go ahead and dip my brush into the water once or twice just to get a lighter hue, and then spread that water out across the square or arc, whatever you'd call it. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to rinse my brush off just a little tiny bit more each time so that it gets lighter and lighter as it gets further out to the edge arc there. Now, for the darker hues, it's a little bit trickier. When you mix all 3 primary colors together, you're going to get a neutral color. It may look like a brown or a gray, but it's going to be a dark semi-mucky color, and that's going to basically create the neutral. We want to mix them together, and then we're basically going to add just a little bit of that neutral color to our blue each time we move down, and then we'll do that for each of our other colors as we continue on. These ones are the easiest to do because you're just taking the color straight from the pigment, whereas the other ones we're about to mix. So here I am creating green, and I don't want it to be too much on the yellow side, and I don't want it to be too much on the blue side, because there is going to be a yellow green and there is going to be a blue green. I want this one to be right in the middle. So same thing, I'm going to use that 4th block down and make that as saturated as possible and lighten up the color as I go further up. Now, if you feel like you need to get a little bit darker, you can dab into the pigment a little bit more, add a little bit more of the pigment to the water. Just keep in mind that as you are moving around your color wheel, that the color wheel is wet, so just be mindful of that. I do like to do them spread apart like this because then I have a better chance of them drying before I get to a square that's going to be right next to it and accidentally bump into that one. So I'm going to continue on with all of my secondary colors, and I'm going to wait to do the neutral portion right now. I'm just going to worry about getting the lighter hues in. Now at this point you can decide if you want to do your darker tones or if you just want to go through and do the lighter tones on your tertiary colors. But I would say this. I'm doing just the lighter tones right now because I'm very confident that I'm going to be able to remix the color exactly the way that it is. If you don't feel so confident in that, then what you'll probably want to do is wipe everything clean except for the color that you're working on and go back and do the neutral tones and go ahead and get dark as we showed on the blue. And that's about it for this portion. You just want to work your way around and you want to make sure that you're leaving plenty of space so that you're not touching any wet spots to other wet spots so it doesn't bleed through. You'll notice that I folded mine in the next demo and got some of it messed up, so don't be like me. So all we have left to do is to add it to our sketchbook, and we'll do that in the next portion.